Spencer's books.
All right, we're live.
Right.
Live. Um, I guess I'll just go because I'm not going to wait for people to come on, which is annoying when I am on socials
Oh,
and people are like, so let's get into it, Matt.
let's do it.
I'm, I'm Tracy from All Things Real Estate. And we have been playing around with ChatGPT. We know it's like the major buzzword around real estate right now, or has been for a quick minute, and things are moving fast with it. So Matt is all things SEO and nerding out on the GPT stuff or Chat AI, all that robots. So and Matt does all of our, excuse me, Facebook ads and Google ads and things like that. So he's been working on our stuff for a very long time. So he knows real estate and realtors very, very well. I'm gonna ask him questions about how to use it in the business and all that good stuff. But thanks, Matt, for doing this. I'm kind of
No
excited because I
problem.
want to learn some things too. But yeah, is there anything else you want to add to my introduction?
Um, well, I mean, everybody's talking about AI like it just like suddenly came out of nowhere. But the reason it came out of nowhere is because somebody designed an interface to use with it and a system that is something that's usable kind of like by your average business owner or entrepreneur or something, right?
Yeah.
Um, Before that, I mean, you pretty much had to be a developer.
Yeah.
So to get anything functional that was, you know, useful on a day-to-day basis besides the AIs that we use every day that we don't realize, which is something like, when you go to Google Maps or Apple Maps and you say, how do I get to the, you know, Cleveland Convention Center?
Yeah.
It's an AI that determines that, right?
Yeah.
It's technically machine learning, but same idea.
Yeah.
Same with, the system that determines what you see on social media is an AI,
Yeah.
right? Usually
Okay,
it's
before you
several.
get too, you're going to nerd out and you're going to lose all because I'm going to start glossing over. And I know
I know we don't want to lose too much focus, but what I'm
you know
trying to
how
say
realtors
is
are.
there is a lot of AI stuff in the world that's been around already.
Yeah.
It's just now it's something that we can use. The average realtor can actually use it for something besides getting directions to your open house kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I came up with some questions to ask Matt, really basic stuff, things that I also want to know as well. But I know that with anything, it gets overwhelming where you're like, okay, social media and pop buys and open house. I mean, you guys are busy realtoring. And so this kind of stuff, you want to just know the basics, how you can use it, and then see if that's something that you're going to use all the time and then get better at it. But I don't know, I would say like 7 or 8 out of 10 people are just not going to use it until they're forced, or things like Canva are making it easier. If you guys see the little like magic wand, it'll be like Canva has it, Grammarly. If you use that, it's pretty cool. If you just click on that, I've had it rewrite an email before where I'm like, I think I need it to sound more nice or whatever. So those are all Chat GPT type things. I use Chat GPT. I know there's several other platforms, but it's just really easy. And okay, so that's my first question, Matt. As I'm using it, is it like
mhm.
learning me and my vibe and my style and who I am and my business? And so it's pulling better information the more I use it, or is it just a one off every time?
So if you create a login, it's going to have a history of what you've used in the past.
Okay.
They do use your data for training data, but it's kind of generalized training. It's not specific to you.
Okay.
Um, so the thing that you're really asking about here is called context. Context is only within one chat.
Okay. Okay.
So if I ask it a question like, what do you think the best renovation is to add to the value of a home? It will give you the information, from based on what it knows. And then you can say, in our area, that's not true. This one is definitely more valuable. And then it will remember that. And then when you ask about it later in the same chat, it will remember that. But if you open a new chat, it won't remember that.
Oh, okay. So, and I haven't tested this, but I can go back to old chats because it saves it when I'm logged in,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Okay. So that's I mean, that's a huge tip because I was just, playing around with it. I'm like asking it all kinds of things like,
Right.
give me a marketing plan or strategy or whatever. Now put it into a table. I'm just trying it to see what it does. But I have a bunch of tasks or whatever questions that I've asked it, and I've never gone back to see. So I guess I should organize that a little better and utilize it and like go back to it and build on some of the stuff that it's already done.
Right.
Okay, other question about kind of along those lines. Where is it getting its information? Is it just Google scraping?
Essentially, it scraped the internet, that public internet for text, Wikipedia, um, all kinds of sources were used. It's hard to say because they don't tell you exactly what the training data was, but they'll tell you how new of data it's used. So like
Okay.
the GPT 3.5 was trained up to 2020, and GPT 4 was trained up to 2021.
Oh, wow.
If you use something like Google Bard, it will actually look up current information and merge that with the data that it has.
Okay.
And it's a very similar system to GPT, but in its current iteration, it's not really as good. So it's something that you would use if you need data like from a website, like right now.
Yeah.
I would use that. But if you need anything that the system could have known from
Prior.
2021 to the start of recorded human history, then GPT-4 is going to be better.
Okay. So yeah, asking it questions that are more like not generalized, but just not data statistic driven questions because it won't be up to date.
Right.
I mean,
So,
that's what Google's for though. If you're trying to find stats, just use that.
right. And I mean, they're going to get better really fast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
and without going into like the ins and outs of it, the a bunch of kind of technologies all came together since about last November, and so there's been the equivalent of about a decade worth of advancements in AI in the last 6 months. So
Yeah.
it's gone like really fast.
Yeah.
And I know
Okay.
because we've been using AI for years,
Yeah.
and the AI systems that we used to use, like GPT, were really not that good a year and a half ago. And
Yeah.
now they're amazing. So,
So what are some ways that real estate agents can use Chat GPT other than just the, basic
right.
questions or, overall, but kind of niching it down into real estate and realtors?
Right. So, I mean, you had talked a little bit about like data analysis. And since we have context in the system, what you can do is you can tell it data and then you can ask it to analyze that data.
Okay.
And when I say tell it data,
Yeah.
there's a couple ways you could do that. One of them would be if you have a paid subscription to ChatGPT, which I highly recommend because it saves all your stuff. You can, for one, you can back up your data. So if you go to, when you're in GPT, if you go to settings, then there's a thing in there. There's like 3 options in there. One of them, you can save your data and it will send you a file so you can back up all your old searches in case something ever happens. Or you want that information for whatever reason. But also there's a thing in there called browsing. And right now it's a beta feature. And that allows GPT to go look at a website and then interpret that data for you. So one of the ways is to have it go look at the website and then give you the information and kind of analyze it, or you can paste the information in and have it analyze it.
Okay. So yeah, so you could say one one in 10 homes in zip code 97202 have pools. How can I use that data in my marketing or something like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could pull. I think the limit right now, um, for the amount of data that you can put in, they say it in tokens. A token is about the same as a syllable, right? So like 3,000 tokens is about 2,000 words. So if you have a 2,000 word report about all the homes in 97007, and you have 2 or 3,000 words worth of data in it, like an Excel sheet, or in a document, you could just copy all that and paste it in, and then ask it questions about that data.
Oh, cool. And it'll analyze what you put in there.
It'll analyze what you put in.
And then you never know what it's going to spit out. It's almost like, I mean, I feel like it's almost like me where I'm just constantly giving realtors ideas. It's like, so you could like, because a lot of realtors will ask, I need to do pop buys. I have, I'm trying not to say seed packets, but it's what's on top of my brain. I have seed packets. What's a good idea for that? And then you can maybe take data around your neighborhood, throw it in there, and just see what happens. I mean, I think that's a big part of it is just playing with it and being on it.
So, like an interesting one that I was talking with somebody about a couple of weeks ago is they said that they could get like all this kind of historical data for their neighborhood, but they didn't really have a good way to analyze it and kind of make any decisions around what that data means. So what they did is they asked the system, they said, if I was going to analyze the data from a neighborhood to determine how likely someone is to sell their house, what information would I need? And then it says, here's some ideas on that data. And some of that was like how long it's been since the last sale, and what is the age of the home, and what is the age of the neighborhood, and stuff like that.
Okay.
So then they put that in, and they pasted that data in and said, using the ideas for analysis that you already gave me and the data that I have pasted in, how likely is it for people to sell their homes? And it's like, well, I'm an AI and I can't really give you an opinion, but here's some ideas.
Yeah.
And so now you're like, okay, well, it does sound like this is a good place maybe that I can go and do some door knocking, or, do some cold calling, whatever it is that you like to do for your neighborhood, right? Do some farming.
Okay, cool. So that was one of my questions too, was like how to use it in your listing appointments. And that was a really good one for that. Is there any other good tidbits that you have for using it for any kind of listing appointments or?
Like, I think anytime that you need to get ideas, it's going to be full of ideas. So here's what happened. Everybody who wanted to get any attention from anyone on the internet had to have their information on their website so that Google could index it, and then someone could search for it, and they could go, okay, well, if I'm a real estate coach, I need to write a blog every week for the last 10 years about different types of ideas around coaching and stuff for real estate and ways for them to do this or that. And let's say there's 1,000 coaches who are doing that. Then you've got, 52,000 blogs that it's already read from all of those 1,000 real estate coaches for the last 10 years. And it knows all that data. So you say, give me some ideas for this thing. It's got a lot of history in it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's also literally read millions of books. So they actually took the digital copies of books and fed them into the system as well.
Wow. Okay.
Now, there's one thing that you need to kind of be aware of, and I shouldn't say kind of, I mean, you really need to be aware of this, is that the system is predictive. And it's going to try and make a prediction of the information that you want, even if it doesn't have it. So, like if you say, give me quotes from the book written by Tracy Hicks, and you haven't written a book, it will make up quotes that it thinks you would have put into a book. Right? So it's weird in that way.
Right.
So if you're going to be like quoting something, from a book or, like an article or something like that, you want to fact check that for sure, right?
Okay.
But for kind of topical things like general ideas, that's what they are. They're ideas. They're not fact, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's not. I mean, if it's looking for stuff from Tracy Hicks, there's more than one of me
Right.
or of my name. So yeah, that makes sense.
You also want to kind of give it contextual information whenever you can so that it can make a better decision about what information you're looking for.
Yeah.
So if I was going to write about Tracy Hicks, but there's more than one Tracy Hicks, then I'm going to say Tracy Hicks, who is also the owner of the All Things Real Estate store, and, whatever other information I have about you that might be publicly available. I'm going to put all that information in and say, I only want information from this person.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
tell me XYZ.
Yeah.
It doesn't have personal information about people, right? Um, I mean, technically speaking, it does, but they've designed it so it won't give it away.
Yeah.
So it won't give out people's emails or anything like that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, I want to get to some of your questions before we go. I said we would make this
Sure.
quick. But one of the things that you mentioned was advanced content creation.
Yes.
And we kind of, I guess, talked about that a little bit.
I think a little bit. And I think what's happening is people are using it in a very kind of rudimentary way compared to the actual power the system has.
Yeah, it's so new
So I know it is new.
for us,
And right. But I mean,
lay
like I
people.
said, we've been using it for a long time, and we were using kind of predecessors of these types of systems for a while before that. So we kind of know how to coax the information out of it that we want,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The biggest thing that you're going to find is people don't use enough context. They don't give it enough of the kind of general information that it needs to do a
yeah,
really good job. And then the other thing is like we were saying about how each chat is its own kind of information pipeline. So my favorite thing to do is like if I was going to write an article for my website, I'm a realtor. Let's say I live in Nova Scotia, so I'm going to talk about Nova Scotia right now. So in, let's say, Halifax, the city of Nova Scotia, I'm going to write an article about why the best deal in housing for any major city in Canada right now, Halifax is still the best deal on the market. But I'm not just going to put that in and say go. I'm going to say I want to talk about how even though housing prices have increased this percentage, like use the data that I already have, even though housing prices have increased 79% since 2019, they are still, X amount below the median price in a major Canadian city, yada, yada, yada. And you can use your own information, right? And I'm going to put in all that information. I'm going to say, I want you to write this in the style of objective journalism, or I want you to write this in the style of, and name someone who's maybe a real estate writer that you know of. So you can tell it to do things stylistically. You can also say things like, I want this to be, I want to show that I'm excited about this, but
when I'm really not.
I don't want it to sound salesy,
Yeah,
right? So you can say those kinds of things, and then it'll give you an output.
yeah,
And that output is going to be way better than just write an article about this thing.
yeah,
And then once you have that output, read through it. And if there's one or two things you don't like about it, say, in paragraph 2, you mentioned da-da-da-da-da, and I think that it's actually this. And then it will rewrite it and make that change for you.
yeah, yeah. So speaking of that, as we kind of wind down real quick, let's talk about some ways, or just throw out some ideas of how people can use it. For instance, we use it in our product descriptions because
Mm-hmm.
Shopify has its own ChatGPT, for lack of a better word. It has I think it's called Magic,
Yeah.
right, or something. So it and basically what we'll do is it we've used it in two different ways. We've used it on products that have existed for a really long time. It's had a product description forever, and then we'll just ask it to like refresh it, or maybe also we could ask it for, SEO, keyword rich,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I might take like one or two of those sentences and put it in. Excuse
Bless
me.
you.
Um, and then, so then also too, like my other website that I just launched, Time with Tracy, I actually had it help me write out exactly like, you know, kind of the things that I can do for people, but just having it right in a, like I would tell it, okay, I'm going to do this. This is one of the things that I offer. And then it would write stuff out. So I might take a sentence here, a paragraph there and tweak it, but it's really, really helpful for like writer's block where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where to start. I don't know what to say. And then you can just have it do that and then just go in and copy and paste it, put it in a Word doc and then tweak it to, take out stuff and change words and all that. So,
Right.
what are some other ways that you think realtors could use, where they can use it?
I think having it rewrite or at least write the property descriptions, and
Yeah.
then you can also, and here's an interesting thing that you can do. So the systems are trained on data that is not necessarily only from the United States. And the laws for housing and housing descriptions are different in different countries.
Yeah.
So it may write something that's against the Fair Housing Act.
Yeah.
So what you want to say is, I want to make sure that this complies with the United States Fair Housing Act when you
Mhm.
say write this property description. And then it's much more likely to give you something that is not going to get you in any trouble.
Trouble. Yeah.
Right? You should always check it, of course, right? For like steering or something like that. But the other thing that you can do is you can take all of the kind of description of the home, right? You can say, okay, well, it's 2.5 baths and whatever bedrooms and yada, yada, yada. It's a bungalow. But you can also look at the photos that you have and you can say, the living room has this type of floor. There's a chandelier in this room. You can basically describe the photos to it and then have it write it.
I like that.
And then it will make some really sharp stuff.
Yeah. And also too, take that information and use it in your social media. It's
Right.
almost like I use this as an example all the time, like an eighth grade book report where you have like the outline, like so your starting point is the listing, exactly what you said, like here's the living room,
Mm-hmm.
here's the backyard, here's the best features, that kind of stuff. And then just you build out your content and you've got stuff for your website, stuff for the MLS, social media, your door tags, your open house products, your flyers, like all that stuff, and just anything that you do in your marketing. Just starting with that it also helps your brain like there's so much to do as a realtor, and so it really just helps to have it all in one and be like, ooh, I am organized and it's all right here. And you started with ChatGPT and those descriptions, because once you have those descriptions you can just take off from there. Like the ideas are just going to flow because there's such good stuff in there.
Absolutely. And the other thing that you can do is you could say, convert this property description into a blog post for my website.
Yeah.
And now it's going to go, digga, 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 here's your blog post.
Yep.
And make sure that's correct. And then you can say, I want this to be a series of 3 succinct social media posts. Convert this into the things I need to make a carousel for Instagram.
Nice.
I want to create 5 vertical story posts. Can you give me a headline for all 5 that based on the information I've already given you?
Yep.
Convert this into a 2-minute video for YouTube.
Yep.
Include descriptions of which photos I should use at which time. And it will give you the narration part and, all the stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's just, once you have the base data, you've put in enough context for it to give you a really good kind of starting point.
Yeah.
Now you can branch that out to all the other media stuff that you need. All just keep it in that same chat, right? Over and
Yeah.
over in the same one. And, if it gets messed up, like it starts going off on some weird tangent or something because it misunderstood something, just go back, copy all the stuff you put in before, start a new one, paste in the good stuff, and then start again,
Yeah.
right?
And then you can also ask it too, what are some other ways I can market this property, and maybe put in the zip code or something. And maybe it'll give you some cool ideas like, do a thing with the local coffee shop, a giveaway, or I don't know. I want to go play with ChatGPT
That's
now.
right. And then have it write the flyer for you.
I should be doing it on my other screen, like as we're maybe next time, because we are going to do this
That's right.
again.
Yeah, we'll do
So
it again. We'll have some more kind of concrete examples you can just kind of copy and paste and try out. And,
yeah, and if anybody has any questions in particular, I don't know, what do you want to do it next week?
yeah, we
Yep.
can do next
We
week.
haven't planned this far ahead yet. So yeah, we'll do like a part 2, I guess. And if there are any questions on Facebook or LinkedIn, YouTube, I think that's only 3 places we stream to today. But yeah, if any questions come up for Matt or myself, we can answer them too in the comments. But that'll be good content for the next time that we meet up. But I think my favorite takeaway is the product description thing in the MLS. I love that. So,
Yeah,
and
it's
realtors
amazing.
get stuck in like using their same word. Like you'll see quintessential and everything, and like
Yeah, you can take all of you can say here's 5 descriptions, RMLS descriptions I've used in the past.
yeah,
Write one for the following property in my voice and
yeah.
avoid using words that I repeat often.
And
Here's
maybe
the
like,
new property.
I love this house because it has a chicken coop in the backyard or something like that.
That's right.
And yeah, it'll pull that out. So very cool. All right, Matt, where can people find you?
You can
I feel
find
like
me
I have
on
to
the
say
LinkedIn.
on the
Matt
LinkedIn,
Rouse on
the
LinkedIn.
Googles.
Yep. And also my book is going to be for sale in your store today.
I should have
I have one.
a copy of it. I'm a terrible host. Oh, Peertainment. There it is. Yeah, it'll be on the site here in a minute. Matt's going to put that on for us.
Check it out. It'll teach you what you need to know to partner with AI so that you can stay relevant in the changing world and get ahead of your competition. And also, it has a strategy for you to use for the new peertainment types of social media that's different than the old ones we're used to.
Yeah, very cool. All right, Matt, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm excited to do it again next week because
Yeah,
I learned awesome stuff.
I learned some things, so I'm gonna play around with ChatGPT later on today and see what else I can use it for.
Sure, put in your comments what your favorite part was, or if you have any other suggestions, and we'll chat.
Yeah, or how you're using it, because I want to know that too. I want to know how other agents are using it and kind of, how they're feeling. But cool. Thanks,
Sounds
Matt. Have a
good.
good rest of the day.
You too. Bye.
See ya.